Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Emmanuel, founder of Open Cloud Academy. I'm absolutely thrilled to be the host tonight, depending on where you're watching from. Okay, so we are living in the era of unprecedented digital acceleration, and traditionally, learning models are competing with the rapid engineering shift and AI in entirely redefining the value proposition of skills acquisition that brings us to our core focus today, a comparative return on investment on tech education and the shift in modern technology framework. Okay, so tonight, our first speaker is going to be Cassandra Kata, and um, this is a question I have to ask you.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so you're specialized in making complex simple, as you make complex technology more simple for people to understand. And what is the biggest roadblock students face when trying to get a return on their tech education investment, and how do they overcome it?
It's a great question. Thank you for allowing me to be here. To all of the persons on the panel, good evening to you. It's 3 o'clock here in the States. My name's Cassandra Carter. I'm the founder and CEO of Complex Simple, where we take the complexity out of IT. I do training and everything for people that are looking to get into the space of technology. The question, actually, my answer for the question is actually twofold. One is a lot of people are not really clear on what domain of technology they want to be in. So that's kind of like how breaking up the monotonous and the complexity of trying to find out what domain best fits them, especially when it comes to their personality. Like, it doesn't make sense to put someone in a help desk type of role where you're constantly on the phone, constantly talking with people, and you're highly introverted. You don't like talking to people. So that's one of the things that is something that needs to be put out there, is to help people who are looking to get into this space really understand each domain, and helping them to kind of govern themselves according to their personality, the things that they like, the things that they do well, not just the money. So that's one. The second part is, I would say, jobs. We have a lot of places that give education, a lot of places, a lot of boot camps, a lot of this, a lot of that. Unfortunately, when it comes down to internships and jobs and apprenticeships and things of that nature, that's where things are lacking. So perhaps if we had more employers where these learning institutions and boot camps have more relationships with employers that are looking to hire the people that's actually in their programs, then perhaps things will be better, with jobs, with those companies providing jobs, with those companies providing internships, with them providing some type of apprenticeship or something for these people to actually gain gainful employment, and also be able to utilize those skills. So to answer your question, that would be definitely a twofold question. I mean, answer to your question, twofold.
Okay, thank you. The next question will be for Ace. The question is this: when we look at the high cost of traditional degrees versus specialized tech boot camps or academics, how should someone mathematically calculate their personal return on investment in today's market?
Thanks for having me. Before I get into the actual questions, by way of introduction, I am a 𝐭𝐞𝐜𝐡. Me and Mano go way back. We actually met in junior secondary school, which would be like middle school for those in the States. So this is probably over like 20 years now. And even after, so I moved to the States after secondary school for college. But even Manuel and my mom also live in the same neighborhood. So I've known him for over 20 years now. So anyways, excited to be here and to help out with this event. So I work at Google, but I'm not here in the capacity to speak for Google. So anything I say here is based on my own personal experience and my own personal capacity. So at Google, I do M&A finance, and that what that means for people who are aware or very familiar with the finance world. So M&A means mergers and acquisitions. So when Google wants to invest in other companies, or when Google wants to buy other companies, so I work on those type of deals and those type of projects. So my perspective here today is going to be sort of from the finance standpoint. So that's where my area of expertise is. But to the specific question about ROI and tech education, I think just when you think about investments in general, there are two things, right? It's the investment and then the return. So I think when you think about investment, it's not so much just people. I think people might think about just the qualifications that you're getting or the certifications, like, oh, I'm going to pay X amount of naira or dollars and do 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever and get this certification, right? I actually think that's the backwards way of doing it. I think you should start from what the type of job or role that you want, right? So, oh, I want to do this. I want to work in cybersecurity, for example. And ideally, you can find specific companies who are hiring for those specific roles and have specific job descriptions out there. So you can actually look at the job descriptions and say, hey, here are these very specific skills and experiences that they're looking for. So you make sure that by the time you're signing up for those classes or courses or whatever you're trying to sign up for, that actually relates to the type of job that you're trying to get. I'll give a finance example. So before I joined Google, I used to do investment banking. And I remember in those days, being a master of Microsoft Excel used to be the thing. So people pay a lot of money to do boot camps to like learn how to model in Excel. Like it would be like 3 to 5 days. You have different companies who have courses. You pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars for a 3 or 5 day boot camp to learn how to model very fast in Excel, right? So that has to be the skill. But today, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT can all do that stuff. So it's not worthless now, right? So now it's like, okay, who can create the agents that can do the valuation for me? Not so much you doing the valuation yourself now, right? Who can create AI agents that can create the valuation for me? So I say all this to mean like you can't just say, oh yeah, I saw some people getting this type of certification, so I'm going to go get it too. You have to think about what you specifically want and what kind of skills the companies are hiring for, and make sure whatever you sign up for directly ties to that role. So ideally, once you wrap up that program, your chance of getting a job is very high. So for Google, for example, when we hire roles, when we have job descriptions out there, we usually would have like minimum requirements, and we would have like preferred requirements. So sometimes it could be like 4 years bachelor's in finance as the sort of minimum requirements, or the preferred could be like, oh, we want someone who has experience, leading, big stakeholder type engagements, right? So, and when you do apply for those jobs and they're looking at your resume, they're looking that you have that specific skill that they have in that job description. So all this to mean, I think the place to start is to look for to spend some time just understanding what it is that you want, to make sure whatever certification you're going to be paying for ties to that thing that can actually pay off eventually. And also, I think a lot of times too, people think about ROI in terms of the cost, like, oh, this program is going to cost me, I don't know, 10,000 naira or $10,000, or this one's going to cost me $100,000 or 100,000 naira. Oh, so that the one for 100K is too high, so maybe I shouldn't do that one. But I think when you think about ROI, I think it's important not just to focus so much on the cost, but also what the payoff is going to be, right? So for example, you could do a course for, let's say, I'm going to use dollars here, say a course that's only $10,000, for example, and then the kind of benefit you get, or the kind of return you get, maybe it adds $1,000 to your salary, annual salary for the next 10 years. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe it takes 10 years to even get your money back. But you can have a course that's, let's say, or a degree or something that costs you $100,000. But maybe after 1 year, the first job you get, you have a pay bond of $100,000. It pays for itself within 1 year. So the idea here is just not to think about cost and not to think about ROI just in terms of like the upfront cost, but also think about the return, and also like how long it takes for you to make that money back or for you to get that back. So just to sort of summarize here, I think one, as I mentioned, I think it's good to start specifically on the types of role that you want to make sure the thing that you are going to be paying for matches and provides you that skills and that experience. And two, don't focus just so much on the upfront cost and say, hey, this thing is so expensive, so I'm not going to do it because it's not worth it. You should also think about like, okay, yes, I'm making all this upfront investment because it's an investment, but here's the return. So it could still look like an expensive investment upfront, but if you think about what you might get for it, it might make sense. So that was just some framework in terms of how to think about ROI investment.
Okay, so I have another question for Cassandra, and I will come back to you, Ace. And my question is this: we have seen this drastic change in AI. AI have interrupted the tech market. You see companies letting out software engineers, rendering about 6,000, 8,000 jobless. So you're into tech education. So do you still train people based on what the market required back then, or you're looking into the future and saying, for example, we don't need to bring up more software engineers, we should train people more on AI? Or how have this shift in AI affected your trainings?
To answer your question, I would say a little bit of both. Here in the States, one of the issues that we have isn't just tech training. It's the ability to critically think, it's the ability to problem solve, it's the ability to troubleshoot. Communication is effective, excuse me. Effective communication is another issue. So those are things that when I was coming up, those are things that were definitely taught in the schools. Unfortunately, nowadays, it's not as I won't even say that. I was just say it depends on if you're going to private schools versus public schools. That's a whole nother conversation all by itself. But I would say, like I said, a combination of both. So having to reach out to grab some of those soft skills that have been very prevalent and paramount, for being successful in your career. And now we have AI where Iris, is that how you say your name, sir? Iris. Ace. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Okay. But like he was basically saying, to kind of look for the type of job that you want, you know what I'm saying, and start to kind of go toward what the market wants. Another issue that we have here in the States, I'm not sure if it's any other country. Here in the United States, there's also a problem with employers not really knowing how to utilize AI. So if they don't know how to utilize AI, then they can't put together how to build a workforce that's going to be using AI for their companies. So it's kind of like a little bit of both. I am heavily watching the market when it comes to AI. And back what the brother was saying before about, taking the skill sets and things that the companies are hiring for. Well, what happens when the companies really don't know what they're hiring for? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you expect the people that are coming into the field to pay money? And let's be honest, tech education is not inexpensive. It's very expensive. And so people are spending money only to find out that these skills have been overtaken by AI, or they're not used in the capacity that people are learning. So that's why I'm heavily watching the AI market, because things are happening so fast with AI. How can we as educators, how can we as people who are doing the training, how can we keep up with the speed of how fast AI is changing? That's another problem all by itself right there.
Okay. Thanks for the answer. My next question is going to Ace, and I don't know if this will be a little bit out of what we are discussing about today, but I'm going to be asking based on investment. So you're an investment analyst, and you help Google pick which companies to invest in and which areas to invest in. And if you should are your decisions based on AI? Because personally or generally, the trend now is artificial intelligence. So do you make these financial decisions based on how involved a company is with financial intelligence, or is it just going to be you look at the market, if there's going to be profit? How has AI affected your decision making?
So I'm going to try to keep this as generic as I can, because I can't say too much about our actual processes. But I'll just say at a very high level, not just Google, every company has priorities, right? So we obviously are a tech company. We have priorities, right? We want to serve our customers. We want to give you guys better products. So we want YouTube to work better for you. We want YouTube to give you the best recommendations when you pull up YouTube to watch videos, right? We want Google search to give you the best products. We want it to, when you ask a question, we want it to give you the best responses for your questions, right? So we have priorities and objectives as a company, right? So when we look at investments, that help us achieve those priorities. So for example, say YouTube, for example, we want YouTube to give you better recommendations, right? So we invest in different ways to achieve that goal. Part of it could be hiring, right? We want to hire the best people who have the skills and expertise to come make the product better, right? Just from a hiring headcount standpoint, right? Another one could be like, hey, there is this company out there that's doing this cool thing that can really make this product better. It could be Gmail, it could be Google Maps, or whatever it is. There is a company out there, it's a small company that's doing something that could help this product get better, right? So all of those different things, you take those into account. Sometimes you can build stuff in you. You can have, let's say, companies is out there doing something that could be beneficial to any one of our products. We also have, people who are very experienced, who are very good at their job, who can also do the same thing. Sometimes you have to, just from a high level, the thing we have to think about is the build versus buy, all right? It's like, okay, we think this feature will be good for this product, right? But do we have the expertise inside of us, to be able to build it on our own? And if we do build it on our own, like how would it take us? Sometimes, yes, we do have engineers who can build this thing, but maybe because of the other workload that they have, it's going to take them 2 years to build this thing. But maybe there's a company out there that's already built the thing. So if you buy that company, bring them inside, then instantly we have that feature to make whatever product we're trying to make better, right? So I think just at a very, very, very high level, I think one, it's what are the priorities for that product, right? So any different companies would have different priorities for the different types of services and products, right? So what are the priorities? And two, in terms of achieving those priorities, sometimes can we do it internally with the people we have, or do we need to hire new people, or can we accelerate that process by going out there to buy and then making investments or buying that company? So I come into play in the second. So when it's like, let's use the processes we have to build, so I don't touch that. Like that's not, like, I don't touch these type of things. So I come into play on my team, or my work come into play when we make a decision that says, hey, we think it's better, or we think it'll be quicker if we can find another company that already has that service or feature, and then we can buy that company and bring them in-house, and then automatically we get that thing that we're looking for.
Okay, then this comes to my next question. So I'm trying to look at the Chinese economy, and I'm trying to look at the American economy. When China went into production, they made a lot of millionaires from production. So everybody's trying to buy from China, and you have more Chinese producing, and it became millionaires. Now AI came into the picture, and we have all the big tech companies in America investing heavily into AI, and some of them are getting a whole lot of return on investment from AI. So let me compare to the Chinese economy. As AI made more millionaires individually in America, so do you see more people, individuals, driving the sports cars, living this big life because of AI? So that's the way you can see it from the tech company point of view. Google makes so much from AI. Gemini is doing so well. What about the individuals? Do you have more individual millionaires because of AI? Are individuals getting more richer because of AI, or is it the same? Is it just the tech companies, or individuals are also benefiting from it?
I guess who's this question towards? Is it me?
Yeah, you, financial analyst.
No, I think in general, right? When you have a new technology, a new innovation, right, that has a lot of promise, like AI does, right? You think about internet, you think about like laptops and PC, or even the cell phone, like when Apple brought the iPhone, right? You think about any new technology, right? It's going to create a lot of value for the people who are in that ecosystem, right? So if you, in the, I guess in the cell phone, like even I wasn't born then, but in the 70s, 80s, I know people who are like, oh, I used to work for AT&T. AT&T is one of the cell phone companies in the US, right? But right now, if you work for AT&T, it's just like AT&T is kind of like a regular company now. It's not exciting. It's just a company. But in those days, it's kind of like, I guess for Nigeria, it'd be like MTN or Glo, one of those, right? But in those days, when cell phone service was not a thing, and when it was first rolling out, like if you worked for AT&T, those were the hot companies in the States at that time. I met some people who were like, oh yeah, like he made a lot of money like when the way AT&T and those companies were still expanding in the US. So the point being that if you're in any ecosystem that is just rapidly growing, if you're in a company, anything, if you're part of anything that's just like rapidly growing, by extension, the people who are in that ecosystem are going to realize a lot of values, right? So if you happen to, so I'm at Google, so Google's a big company, but we're more a mature company. Google still grows, but it's more mature, right? The bigger the company is, usually big, it's kind of like big countries and smaller countries. Sometimes you would talk about economies, right? Smaller economies tend to grow faster. If you're small, if you have like a small base to start from, you can grow faster. If you have a very mighty base to start from, you can still grow, but you probably wouldn't grow as big as the smaller companies. So I say this to say, like, Google is it's a bigger company. It's been around for almost 30 years now. But then you have some other new AI startups who are coming up in San Francisco. I'm in Atlanta, but most of the companies are going to be in the Bay Area. Obviously, they're going to grow very fast. And if you happen to work for one of those companies and you exit, say you work for one of those companies and a bigger company like Google or one of the like Nvidia or Amazon or whoever buys them, then yes, automatically overnight you're a millionaire, right? But I think if we kind of connect this to careers in general, I do think for me, as I think about even finance, one of the advice, when people reach out to me all the time about career advice and such, and one of the things I advise people sometimes, it's like, I think sometimes where you work sometimes is more valuable than what you do. I'll give an example. So you could be I don't say clean. What's an example? If you be a tax person, I work at like a tax accountant at Google, right? You probably make more than if you were a software engineer for like Coca-Cola. I'm nothing against Coca-Cola here, but like Coca-Cola or some like company, right? It's just because Google in general just pays more. So even if you do any kind of job at Google, you're likely to make a good amount of money compared to like you could be a software engineer, you could be something like that for like a smaller company, right? So I think it's just this idea of like being where the action is happening and being where the growth is going on. So I think I'll connect it back to my point about like looking for the things that those companies need. What type of skills are they looking for? Because on one hand, you do hear about AI and a lot of companies letting people go because of like, oh yeah, we're trying to be more efficient now. So you can use less people accomplish the same task or do the same job. That is true, but even the AI companies themselves are still like hiring a lot. Like, what are they hiring for? So you think it's important to say, okay, like, yes, those companies that are growing so fast, that have a lot of the attention now, like what types of things that they require, what type of skills do they want, what are they looking for? And then you can map your career, your path towards that. Like for me, again, as I said, I'm not a software engineer, I'm not a programmer, but I work for a tech company, right? My way into Google was like, I came through finance, I did investment banking, but I was very good at what I did. So yeah, so Google even big companies require all kinds of things, require accountants, require finance people, require lawyers, require PR people, require all these different things. But obviously there's a lot of competition wanting to work for a place like this. So like no matter what you do, my general career advice in general is, even if you're working at a small mom and shop, a small company, like be very good at that thing, like whatever it is that you're doing. If you can establish yourself and your skill set in that particular thing, then even if you're not a tech person, like, and you do your tax person, for example, and you know how to do tax very well. Yes, Google wants someone who knows how to do tax very well, and you could be a part of a place like Google. So I think that for me, I think the idea is twofold. One is so if you can, it's not always possible. It definitely pays to be a part of a company that's grown a lot. It's just there's just a lot of rapid growth going on, because you also learn a lot from it. And then two, just be very good. Doesn't matter what you are, whether you are in tech, you're doing cybersecurity, whatever it is that you're doing. Like be very good at that thing. And then you can use that expertise then to parlay your way into one of these companies that you may have as a dream company.
Can I answer that just briefly, please? That the
Yes.
question as well. I definitely agree with the brother. You know, be really, really, really good at what you do. Again, I'm not certain if any of you know what's going on here in the States, but a lot of people are losing their jobs, especially those of us that look like us. They're losing their jobs leaps and bounds. And so for me as an educator, for me as an instructor, someone who teaches tech, I also teach the career aspect, but I also touch on entrepreneurship. Right now, AI is what I call an equalizer. What does that mean? Oftentimes here in America, I don't know about any other country. Again, I'm an American, and I only know about what's really happening here because I live here. But for years and decades upon decades, Black people have been left out of things. The dot-com era, all of these big eras where people have become multimillionaires and things of that nature. We were left out of that. Right now, the AI era is like the best of all those times. Why? Because people that do not look like us don't really know how to use it. So if they don't really know how to use it, they don't know how to keep us out of it. So right now is the best time for Black people to get into this industry because very few people know how to use it. That means very few people can keep us out of it. And because those kinds of things are in our DNA, philosophy, astronomy, astrology, technology, all that stuff is in us. There's no reason why we can't get in this field and dominate it the way we dominate football and basketball and hip hop and R&B. There's absolutely no reason. There's absolutely no reason. The issue is trying to educate our people on what AI is, what it isn't, what it can do, what it cannot do, as well as us coming in and saying, okay, how can we build our own AI so we don't have to rely on somebody else previously telling our story. We can tell our stories ourselves. And it's pretty much the same like with hip hop. I was born in the 70s. I was born in the era where hip hop was originated. So us telling our stories and all that other stuff in the Bronx, some people say it happened in Bronx, some people say it happened in Brooklyn, wherever it happened, that's where it happened. You know what I'm saying? But look at where hip hop is right now. Right now, you cannot access any commercial without hip hop and R&B being part of it. You know what I'm saying? That came from us. So now is like one of the best times to really kind of get in. And if we can dominate AI, then we can dominate cybersecurity. We could dominate cloud, because all of that stuff is going toward the cloud in the first place. So we could dominate all of those things just by getting into AI and utilizing it the way we see fit, because AI works on what? It works on prompts, right? We come up with the prompts. So when we come up with our own prompts and things of that nature, we can create our own products and we won't need the company, because right now, like, competition is crazy. It's crazy. And brother, you can testify to the fact that you work for Google. I can only imagine how many resumes they get in, no matter what position they is for. It's crazy. So my thing is entrepreneurship. You have to think about that as you're getting into not just this industry of technology, but law and medicine and every other industry that AI is going to touch.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. Thank you. Okay, so is there any question from the listeners? Okay, if there is no question, then I'm gonna say your final words. Thanks once again, Cassandra, for honoring this invitation. We're supposed to have 5 speakers. I'm still waiting for the other 3 to come in, maybe after the program. So your final word is, do you have any final words in regards to what we just spoke about?
Yeah, I think, just to wrap this up, I think one is companies at the end of the day, they don't hire for like credentials or certifications, right? Companies They're a business, right? They're going to pay you, but they're paying you for a reason. They're not paying you because they're nice to you or they're kind to you. That's why they're going to pay you all this money, right? They're paying you all this money because they want you to give them value. So, right, you got to think about that. And I think there's a direct relation between scarcity and value, right? So you got to think about, like, if you're doing something, if you're going into a field that everybody does, and it's not very valuable, you're not going to get paid well. So you got to think about, as you look at the field and try to explore, okay, what do I want to focus on, right? Think about, like, what are those things that, like, not a lot of people can do and do well, and you could be good at that thing and do it very well. Like Cassandra was saying, right, like the AI thing, like, not a lot of people understand it right now, right? So that's your chance to go into it. There's a lot of value to be hard, because come maybe in 10 years from now, it becomes commonplace. Maybe it's not as valuable anymore, right? So I think just think about as you think about what areas to go into, or what areas to specialize, or what areas to focus on. Think about what are those specialized areas that not a lot of people are exposed to, that you can really, really go down in and really, like, hone your skills and become an expert, where you're now very valuable to any company, right? Whether it's a small company, big company, and that's really how you get your high ROI investments, right? It's really by providing a lot of value to the companies that you work.
Okay, thank you. And over to Cassandra. Do you have any final words to wrap up the talk?
Yes. I would say when it comes to investing, find out what it is that you want to do. Don't just let money and salary and all of that be the governing factor of what you do, because in my experience, you can, be making money and, and all that other stuff, but if you really don't like what you do because it doesn't fit your personality or whatever have you, and you just pick that particular domain because that's where everybody say the money is, you're not going to be satisfied after a while, and then it's going to start showing up in your work. So make certain that you are picking domains of tech that you really, really, really enjoy doing. That's number one. Number two, make certain that you understand, like the brother was saying, it is an investment. I do training classes, and what I'm finding is everybody wants everything for free. And it's not free. It's not free. What we do is not free. I mean, my thing is, you look at it, if we're teaching you skill sets that'll help you make $100,000, $150,000, do you really think that's going to be for free? And be also knowledgeable of the fact that nobody values free. How many free newsletters have you gotten that you actually sat and read? It's still sitting inside your email untouched. So nobody values free. So if you're going to really seriously be in technology, you're going to have to get used to the fact that you're going to have to be paying or investing for education. It is not a one and done kind of thing. You don't just take, the training and I don't have to take any more training at all. You're always going to be learning. So if you're not the kind of person that is into continuous learning, then tech is not for you, because it's always constant learning. And after you learn something, you get certified. It's 2 years before you have to recertify and learn all that other stuff that you didn't learn after you got certified. So it's always going to be some type of investment, and you have to have that in mind. And if you're not willing to do that, then tech is not for you. Okay. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys showing up. Very happy to speak with you, Cassandra and Ace, and I hope we all learn one or two from what you guys have all said. Personally, I think I've learned one or two from what Ace said. I think I love listening to what Cassandra said, though I'm not in the United States, but I've learned one or two things. And I look forward to speaking to you guys more about tech, even if it's not in front of a camera, but I look forward to speaking more and knowing more. Okay, so thank you, and do have a lovely day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.